one of the things about why do we bring people to work in the first place? Why does everybody not work at home? I won't answer that.
I don't know. That might change. Now we all know we can work from home.
Well, and I think it will, and I'm sure that's another question which we can touch on. I hope we do. But to answer that question, one of the great bits and challenges, I think, to business leaders is to create the environment where people are motivated by the environment. So that's the people in it. They're inspired by people in it. They get that sense of, what's the word? It's almost the influence that people have, you know, by being a good role model or a boss. And I want to do well for you. And I think so we have to understand that when we take people out of the environment, and by the way, don't underestimate that sense of belonging, as I said again, and that engagement that you can have. You don't even know you have. Even passing somebody in the corridor, there's people around us. So we've got used to that sort of environment, and that's the environment that we associate with high performance. And now
we're sociable beings, aren't we? We're very sociable beings.
Yeah, so we just chucked everybody back at home now, same four walls. So I think it's important, you know, what I've done. There's so much been done. We can talk about it as long as you want. But I think, you know, the other thing is, you know, have the people got the tools? If we think about this, some work done. I don't know if anybody's read the book Drive, actually, by Daniel Pink. Fantastic piece of work and so much research on Drive. So if you want to talk about motivation, get yourself Daniel Pink, 2011, I think, Canadian author. But he summed it up in sort of 3 words, and he talked about purpose, of course, which was a starting point. So we've done that one. The second one, of course, was this idea of mastery. And if you look at Maslow at the top, it's self-actualization. So the reality is people are mostly driven by wanting, actually, people. We can all come up with 1 or 2 really annoying people in the workplace. If we get rid of those just for the time being, then generally everybody, like the people I can see, are all going nodding and laughing and thinking. Anyway, so forget those. The reality is that people do actually want to be the best they can be. So the thing about the environment in the workplace is we do our best, don't we, to create, or people that do well and have high performing teams actually create an environment where people can be the best they can be. How does that happen? It happens from the quality of the training. It happens from a coaching and mentoring type system where it's their development supported. It happens with the appropriate resources, the amount of time, support. So if you think about all those things and then just go and sit somebody in their living room, you took it all away.
Yeah.
So sorry, please, Eloisa.
No, I was going to say, because that's part of the problem, isn't it? You know, some people have offices that they can work from at home. Sure. Fabulous. Yeah. Don't know about. I'm set up, not today, but I'm set up on my kitchen table usually with the children around.
I'm just covered it up with stuff so you can't see it.
Sometimes I'm in the lounge, depending on where the children are. Absolutely. You know, and you're kind of like, you're not surrounded by your usual comforts. So not only have you not got your team, you haven't got all your stuff necessarily, or the thing that gets you in the zone.
I think the support that is required for people to work in an environment where they can be as good as they can be. So take them into the workplace, you know, have those discussions. What can we do? Practice. It might be nothing, but what can we do to change the environment to actually allow them to be as good as they can be in that moment? And it may be a discussion and just support them in that you might not be working at the level you have been, but it's a very high level because we're given different circumstances. I had a guy, forgive me, win a world championships in Dubai in October, and I wish I was back in that sunshine. Anyway, so and it was lovely. The relevance was 18 months before that day, he became famous for all the very wrong reasons, because he's a Paralympian and he was born with talipes, which is a club foot, and he's got different hypertrophy in both his legs, so very small leg at the bottom. So, and he became the only known athlete in the world to fully rupture the Achilles tendon in that leg. it's over. It's finished. But of course it wasn't. And anyway, the rest's history. But what I'm saying is the environment that he had to work in and the stuff he was doing changed, immeasurably, completely different. But I had to remind him again, it was still part of a process. It was still incredibly valuable. If you're going to get back to a particular point, then the stuff that we've got a certain gap where we have to be purposeful. Everything that we do has to be purposeful. It has to have meaning to the end result, which is to get back to the point where we left, and then we can move on again. I think we're in the same environment, aren't we? It's exactly the same. So we've got to maintain, just because we've changed the environment. Like I said, I get strapped now on a phone, trying to think about this, but my face gets strapped on some railings in some park in Milton Keynes, and I do another one in Derby where I'm watching technical sessions. And who would have thought that I could actually record some movement and edit it and send it by the time they get back to the phone? So we can do it, but we have to think differently. So I think I don't want to digress too much. I hope I've stayed on the question. Think about the people and the fact that they do want to be the best they can be. People are motivated by that. They could be quickly demotivated if they feel that the work they're doing hasn't got any meaning, or is not impacting, or is not of good quality. So reassurance, even in the home, what can we do to the home to actually create an environment? And you might not have the answers, but ask them the questions. Charles, go on.
I was going to say, quite often people have the answers themselves, don't they? So it's just asking the question of, what can you do to help yourself? What can you do to increase your productivity?
Totally.
And they will know.
Yeah. Now, the role of a coach is exactly that, isn't it? A coach is somebody that has a question for your answer.
Because it's not always about telling people what to do, is it? Because actually they're more likely to do what's good for them if they come up with it themselves.
Yeah, they'll be more motivated by it.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I have a morning routine. New in the last month, 5 weeks. I have before I start work. It's not very interesting.
Well, let us decide.
So I will get up before the kids get up. I'll do a 20-minute HIIT session. That's just my thing. So I'm up and I'm moving, and even on the days I really don't want to do it, I'm up and I do that. But then aside from that, myself and the children and the dog will all go out for a morning walk. So before we start work, we will go out for a morning walk, and I have a gratitude journal. So every single morning, even when I sit there and I think, on the darkest mornings, when this first was happening, and I don't know about you, but I was shell shocked and I went into panic, and everything was like, I wrote in my gratitude journal, and you can see how it's changed as the days have gone by. And I mean, that's a habit that I had beforehand, but I have to say that morning ritual, the days where I've not done it, I have really struggled with motivation, or perhaps with keeping my cool in certain situations. So I think helping somebody in this kind of situation, going back to the question, is if they're not as productive as they want to be, when they are productive, when they are having a good day, what were you doing? And can we do that every single day?
So absolutely, yes, I agree. And I think that's really, really good. You obviously touched on it on another webinar, and so we won't go over that. But what you're talking about there and what you're doing is looking after yourself. And I think it's important because you get a really good response from yourself for the rest of the day by following this particular set of bits. And it makes you feel good and you're ready for it and so on. Again, that's exactly the point, isn't it? That we do that and then we walk through a particular door, we sit at a particular desk, we go to a particular coffee machine, and we've just taken it all away. But there's lots of things. So we have to help people create a new situation that actually prepares them for that. And again, in the workplace, hopefully people aren't eating their dinners these days at their computers, and I'm sure they are somewhere. But whatever you do and you step away, this is an opportunity. And if I could just share one of the last words, and I think it's relevant now, that I didn't get to in terms of Daniel Pink's summary of.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's very relevant to what you just said. And the last one is autonomy. So basically what he was saying is when people understand their purpose, when they have absolute clarity around it, is what they do and why they do it and the impact of doing it or not doing it. When we create an environment that actually feeds that sense of purpose, so we give them the opportunity to do it to the best they can be, the last bit is create an environment where you let the buggers get on with it. I'm allowed to say bugger on anyway. You edit that.
Yeah, it's fine.
We let them get on with it, okay? And of course, so when we talk about people are much more motivated, right, by stuff that they own. When, forget the autocratic, authoritarian leaders. Short term, yes, that's a conversation for another day. Maybe you'll come up with an example. Show me one that lasted for a long period of time with the same staff. No, it doesn't exist, all right? So people do stuff because they want to, not because they're told to. All right, there's evidence all over for that. So again, it's that sense within the autonomy. What a time when we want people to own stuff, all right, and actually create their workload and do things because they want. What an opportunity! Talking of ownership now, I've seen so many great examples, honestly. And leaders have come back to me just so inspired. Now, the challenge is going to be when the situation turns, which I'm sure we'll come to in a bit.
Yeah, I was going to say that was my finale question.
How did I know? But of course, so it's not all bad. You've got some people that have responded incredibly positively to this. And you can take out of this what you will, and maybe, you're going to try stuff and employ it. So there's lots of good stuff come out, I hope, that, we can think about. To try stuff, but yeah, ownership.
Brilliant. Do you think that if somebody has a set plan for their day, that has an impact on motivation? Because I know that some employers have kind of put timetables together for people, or given them blank timetables and told them, like, plan your day, as we would do in a normal work environment.
So there's a couple of different people here, so forgive me, it's not like that perfect answer, but I'm going to give you some answers there. If I looked at the audience now, you don't need to stick your hands up for those few I can see or whatever, and those loads I can't, but just in your own head, for a rhetorical question for the time being, to think about, how many people love to work to a strict plan and the rest of it. Okay, I'll stick, not me, by the way. So, so there we go. We've got two people, one does, one doesn't. Okay, so that's the perfect starting point to answer your question. I think it's about knowing your people. So that's the important thing. And if we know people and we can identify people, so now I know Eloise wants to get up, she wants to do a walk, and I'm going to.
That's exactly me.
And that's good.
Control.
I think, so when we know we've got people like that, we need to make sure that we're feeding that. That's the point I was saying again. We need to feed their purpose, and to have that strict regime is what people want. They want to be told what they need to do, and they want it in a time. Now, other people, that's the worst possible scenario, isn't it? And the other thing, and I'm bound to say this as a performance coach, by the way, I don't want to tell somebody how to do something. I just think it's an incredibly self-limiting idea that, listen, if I need to tell somebody how to do something because I want something done in a particular way, in a particular time, then of course I would tell them how to do it, because I know what I would get. If I don't want to limit the performance of the person or limit the innovation that might come as a consequence of just allowing them, how dare I allow them to think about how they could do it for themselves? If that's supported, I just think the opportunity to actually create an environment where there's more innovation and more flexibility. How long have we been talking about flexibility? I can't wait to see the impact of some of the people. And like in every other sense of life, you're going to get some people that just hate this, Eloise, that just need to be in their place of work at their desk with the stuff around them. Maybe I'm naive. I like to think you're going to have equally as many, if not more, people that just might thrive through this. But
I agree.
Some handling, by the way. It's going to take some handling.
I absolutely agree, and I think there's some people that are really thriving with the flexibility, and actually I think it'll be really interesting afterwards where I spend a lot of time talking to employers where they'll say, well, then this job can't be done from home. This job, no, but we can't give flexibility for this role. Well, do you know what? Lo and behold, we're all working from home and we're making it work. So,